I'm Bari. This is my one card, and I'm the financial advisor of the group.
Hello, my name is Erandi Pereira and I will be the social worker for this project.
Hello, I am Mursal Sharif and I will be financial advisor for this project.
Hi, my name is Maxim, and I will be working on financial support for this project. And thank you, everybody, for being here. And let us start. We are facing a high-stake leadership challenge: how to allocate limited housing resources to families affected by the crisis. This is not just a financial or logistical issue, it is a decision-making problem where each choice has real human consequences. The central question is, who should receive support first? The right person is determined through a clear and consistent set of criteria. First, the level of vulnerability. We prioritize families with children, elderly individuals, and those living in unsafe or unstable conditions. Secondly, we define urgency of need, those who are currently displaced, exposed to risks like flooding, or without access to basic shelter. Third, potential for long-term stability is what we focus upon, especially on cases where support can lead to sustainable outcomes, not just temporary relief. These criteria force difficult trade-offs. Prioritizing the most vulnerable may slow overall recovery, while focusing on efficiency may overlook those in greatest need. Effective leadership requires balancing these tensions, not avoiding them. To manage the complexity, we apply a growth mindset as a practical decision-making tool. This means we treat our allocation strategy as something that we can improve over time. After making decisions, we evaluate outcomes. Did the support actually improve stability? Did we prioritize correctly? Were any groups overlooked? We then adjust our criteria based on what we learn. If patterns emerge, such as certain families continuing to struggle, we refine our approach to better address those gaps. A growth mindset also allows us to operate under uncertainty. Instead of waiting for perfect information, we make the best possible decision with what we have and improve it as the conditions change. This is critical because the environments we work are not static. Risks, community needs, and available resources constantly shift. A fixed approach would fail under this complexity, but a growth mindset keeps our decision flexible and responsive. It also shapes how we work as a team. We challenge assumptions, listen to different perspectives, and use disagreements to strengthen our decisions rather than weaken them. This framework sets the foundation for our approach. First, we must understand the diverse contexts of the communities we serve. Then, we must ensure our decisions empower those communities rather than impose solutions on them. With that, I will pass it to Irandi, who will expand on the importance of a global mindset.
Thank you, Maxime. Your ideas sound amazing, and I think that it will surely help us resolve some of the conflicts we have. I'm so excited about this project, Homes and Hopes in Uganda, and I am confident that we will be able to work together and allocate resources based on priorities. Our main goal is to build enough homes cost efficiently and relocate the most vulnerable and affected families. We are dealing with diverse cultures and institutions. This situation calls for leadership skills such as a global mindset. I believe it is important for us as a team to study the environment we work in, the people, and their cultures. We need to understand what is important to them in this crisis. Something I noticed during my conversations with the community and others involved in this project is that the impacted families have different reasons for needing a home. For instance, one family may have too many dependents who need a roof. Another family needs the land that comes with the home for self sustainable farming. And some families have cleared and reshaped their lands and need some construction done in their existing homes to make the place livable. Having a global mindset can really help us to communicate better with the community and other stakeholders when deciding on how to allocate these resources in the best and the most sustainable manner, as Maxime also mentioned. We don't want to rebuild on lands that are more prone to floods just to see the homes washed away again. We need to take into account such situations and also our donors' interests. They will love to see the families in homes safe from floods, and frankly, so will we. Our biggest strength right now is the advantage of being in the middle of this community in Uganda, which helps us understand the direct impacts. We should also be aware of our weak points. That is, we have a lot of remote communication happening with high stake partners. Having to communicate in the middle of these chaotic situations can be challenging. But that is why we will maintain positive attitudes and open communication at all times to convey messages and developments of the project. It is important to consider all perspectives when we make decisions. Pari, what are your thoughts?
Thank you, Arandi. I really appreciate your perspective and your emphasis on understanding the families, their culture, and the environmental realities they are facing. I completely agree that having a global mindset is essential in this situation. I would like to build on your ideas by focusing on empowerment as our guiding leadership principle, especially as we work through this conflict about how to allocate our limited housing resources. At the center of our disagreement is the question of who should receive assistance first when several cases are equally as urgent. While some families are in immediate need, we must also consider transportation costs, long-term safety, and donor expectations. To resolve this fairly and responsibly, I believe we should create a transparent prioritization framework based on 4 key criteria: level of urgency and vulnerability, long-term safety of the land, cost efficiency and feasibility, and overall community impact and sustainability. Empowerment means that we do not make decisions for the community without their involvement, but instead make decisions with them. We should involve local leaders and families in identifying their most critical needs. For example, some families may not require a completely new house, but rather structural repairs to make their existing home livable. Partial reconstruction allows families to actively participate in rebuilding their lives, restores dignity after loss, and reduces costs so we can support even more households. Additionally, if certain areas are highly prone to flooding, rebuilding there may solve an immediate issue but create a future risk. Empowerment also means protecting families from this repeated harm, which may require prioritizing relocation to safer land, even if it does require additional planning. This approach aligns with our humanitarian responsibility while also meeting donor expectations for long-term sustainable impact. From a financial standpoint, empowerment can guide us to invest in local labor and source materials within the region whenever possible. This reduces transportation costs, strengthens the local economy, and builds community capacity so that families are not dependent on external aid in the future. Internally, empowerment applies to our team as well. Each of us bring different expertise. Fundraising, financial management, and social engagement, and instead of allowing these perspectives to divide us, we should combine them to create balanced decisions. By using a clear scoring system that weighs urgency, safety, and cost, we can prioritize the most vulnerable families while still ensuring responsible and strategic use of our resources. Ultimately, empowerment ensures that we are not simply allocating our funds, but building resilience, dignity, and long-term stability for the communities that we serve. And now Mersal will wrap everything up.
Thank you, Pari. I really liked your point about empowerment because it shows how our decisions actually affect real people, not just numbers, right? So to wrap up everything, this situation really shows how hard leadership can be when we have like limited resources, and also every decision impacts families directly. We talked about the growth mindset. We talked about the growth mindset and also empowerment, and all of these help us to look at the problem from different angles. But I think at the center of everything is the ethical leadership. At the end of the day, we have to make a decision, which that decision should be fair, responsible, and even if there is no perfect answer, we are basically choosing between multiple tough options. So it's really important though that our process is clear, and also people understand that why we made certain decisions. That way, both the community and also donors can trust us. Another big part of this is communication, especially intercultural communication. Since we are working in Uganda and also we are dealing with the international donors, we have to be really careful about how we communicate. We need to listen to the community, we need to respect their situations, and also it's really important to not make any assumptions. And at the same time, we need to clearly explain our decisions to others. And even within our teams, good communication help us to avoid conflicts and actually use everyone's perspective in a positive way. And finally, I think resilience is also important. There would be always challenges and like limited funds and also disagreements. So we have to stay flexible and also focus on our goals that can still move forward. So overall, I can say that, I can say that by combining ethical leadership, strong communication, and resilience, we can make a balanced decision that help the people who need it the most, while also making sure that the project is sustainable in the long run. And thank you so much, everyone, for your hard work.
Great job, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.